Text with Erin and Melissa. Wow. We were just three people who just got busted in on a Zoom conference call by whatever Outpost 13 is. Apparently,
I don't know. They started following me on Instagram, and I don't know what or who they are. But here we
never
are.
met him. JK. We are. This is a brand new thing. We are Erin and Melissa. I know it. You may at some points during this conversation be like, have they ever done this before? Have they been outside of their houses? And you know what? We have, though the quality may be lacking based on your opinion. But I'm the Melissa half. For me, that's the Erin half. And we are bringing to you our live version of our podcast, Group Text with Erin and Melissa, a podcast where we talk about friendship, communication, technology. We are so fortunate to get to be part of this big launch day for Outpost 13. And in honor of that, we have asked one of our very best and oldest members of our squad, one of our, just one of our best humans we've ever met. We've asked the co-founder and creator of the podcast, My Two Black Friends, amongst many of the things he does, which is creating photography, whatever you ask him to do, he will do it better than you can.
Drawing, Beyonce fast.
Honestly, it is our friend, the multi-talented artist and creator, Dustin Baker.
How's it going, everybody? Hello, guys. What's up?
So me, Dustin, and Melissa met the same day in 2006 in a little town in New Mexico, working a summer camp. We were 20 and 21 years old. Do the math on that. Okay, we're all looking good for our age.
22 years
I'll
old
tell
now.
you that.
Yes, we do. I have just started using Glossier makeup or moisturizer, but that's like for our other podcast. Instead, we're talking about this. 26, thank you. Paul in the chat. You guys can send us messages if there's anything. We're all very new, even though this is a technology podcast. There's things that are new. Today we're coming to you live with Zoom, Twitch, and Zencaster. After this, you will be able to listen to this podcast on Stitcher and iTunes. You will be able to watch our faces currently here in Twitch. That's wild. And then I'm just taking screenshots of us talking here in Zoom just for my private collection. So that's so what you guys know what's happening for us. Also, all of this is only coordinated by the help of the amazing Arlo Sanders and the team at Outpost 13. So
yes, and if I'm pretty sure everyone is very aware that I've never, just by my blank stares, I've never used three, what would you call this? Windows at
programs?
The same time? I don't know. This is the most wild adventure I've ever had online. So thank you guys. Thank you to Melissa mostly and Jason, also my fiance, for walking me through step by step, allowing me to use his computer because my computer doesn't have enough space on it. I don't know. Anyways, so I'm honored to be here as well, guys. So thank you.
So we do this podcast, and the truth is we did an episode with Dustin because Dustin is also one of our more technological friends. He's worked at Apple. He has to use a lot of technology for photography and things like that. So we normally start out by asking people on a scale of 1 to Steve Wozniak, which Erin later amended from a cardboard box to Steve Wozniak. Where does Dustin land on the scale? He has answered this previously, but we want Dustin to be able to give you an answer so that if you have questions like, how do I get more space on my phone? You kind of know who you're dealing with. Maybe you're like, maybe I don't ask Dustin. He rated himself a 2. Or maybe Dustin's like, I'm a 35. And then you're like, afterwards, can I get Dustin's phone number? Dustin, where would you say that you land?
I personally would put myself at like a 5. The reason being is like the more you know you don't know. And so when I worked at Apple, I was really good at as far as like how does the software work and how do you use it to make your life easy? You know, there's a lot of they're just, you know, the the iPhone doesn't come with a book. It just says here in hopes that it intuitively comes to you. And it, for the most part, does, but there's a lot of cool stuff that is there that a lot of people have no idea. That's been there for years. And you'll tell somebody like, hey, you could copy paste on your phone into your iPad. And they're like, what? Huh? So that's why I'm good. But I could not build an iPhone. I couldn't take it apart, put it together. That's not me. That's beyond me.
Well, if you could be building and putting together iPhones, I guess like maybe you'd be calling us from your bunker or from your Beverly Hills home. I don't know. So I'm glad like what you do already exceeds my ability to. Sometimes my phone has to be like, this could be easier, you know, right? Like you don't have to do it like this. If you click or you shake it twice in front of a microwave, it'll just like send your mom a set of like a bouquet of flowers. And I'm like, oh wow, thanks iPhone. Thanks for letting me know.
I just am. It's crazy to me that I never realized that they didn't give you like a directions.
I mean, they do. You can upload like in iBooks. You can get it for free, but
sure, but that also takes knowing how to upload something.
Yeah, exactly. YouTube. That's everybody's instruction book now.
Yeah, YouTube is good. I would say I do like a YouTube tutorial.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That's the way to go these days. It's the instruction manual for life at this point.
Truly, it's how I learned how to curl my hair. How I learned how to do most things, boil an egg, like when you know it's done.
Yes.
I did a little bit of contouring. Face contouring.
I checked to see if my avocado was bad via YouTube.
Smart.
Yeah.
I've been seeing there's a meme about a woman who's afraid her husband's a serial killer based on the way he cut an avocado. Have you guys seen this meme?
No, it's not my.
Someone sliced an avocado like a honey baked ham instead of like you cut an avocado. Anyways, the sight of it gives me the heebie-jeebies, and I pray for this woman, this unnamed woman, every day, because yes, she's married a serial killer.
Or maybe he's living in 2099, you know, which is a good place to live because 2020, I'm telling you, is really turning into like
it sucks ass.
Its own American Horror Story. I'll tell you what.
You guys, I made it 8 minutes before I said a bad word, and I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm afraid my mom is gonna learn podcasts after this whole thing, like knowing that she could like watch me on Twitch, which would take a long time for her to figure out how to get to Twitch. But I was like, Erin, don't say as many bad words.
In 6 years, she's gonna be mad.
She finally breaks the code.
Especially if she finds out YouTube is out there teaching people.
That's true.
Be careful, girl.
I know, she's in trouble.
Thumbs down. Well, we were excited, Dustin, that you agreed to be on our podcast today because one, obviously the audience can already tell that we're obsessed with you, and also a lot of the comments have already been about how handsome you are in your teeth, and we say we know.
If any comments come through about attractiveness, just interrupt us.
Right now, all about Dustin, Erin. I don't know how to.
That's fine. I like to hear it. I'm just like, let's get our morale up. You know, that's nice. Yeah.
I will take it. Thank you, whoever's out there. Mom.
So far, all about how handsome Dustin is, and we know, and we say, get in line. We're excited because we also want to, you know, part of today, we wanted to also be able to acknowledge that while we are funny people doing a podcast, there's also, it's very privileged to get to be together, to have technology and communication and friendship to allow us to be safe wherever we are, to have this conversation in the middle of the day. That is not a luxury that everybody has. And so we want to also be able to talk about that. And we are excited because Dustin has been so gracious in sharing conversations. That's part of what My Two Black Friends is about. Whether it's something about the seriousness of everything that's happening right now as far as civil rights goes and, you know, the murdering of Black American citizens this month and then, you know, just forever and prior to forever. Dustin, that has been a big part of like what you and your co-host Rashawn Pate do with My Two Black Friends, in addition to just talking about culture and life and, you know, just being two alive humans. So we're very, very privileged to have you with us. And I guess my first question for you is like, sorry, go Erin.
I was just gonna say the second question was we asked them about like Steve Wozniak one, but then I was like, not the time, Erin, not the time. So you caught my moment, and then so I'm so sorry. Continue your whatever question you want it to be, baby.
So I guess my first question is, what has it been like to have a podcast where you're getting to have these conversations and you're the curator, you guys are the people who are deciding what you talk about. How do you decide what gets discussed? What is important to you guys and how do you talk about that?
That's a good question. We try to call out the current situations in which like provoke Black people. And so often it's just whatever is trending. And what's sad is there's enough content to be different every time we do a podcast. We're not talking about one instance over and over. It's ingrained in our culture that there's acts of racism against Black people or brown people, marginalized people that happen all the time, every day. And there's few media sources like that on TV that will speak on that honestly or from a Black perspective. So it's been a blessing to do it, and we didn't realize how useful. We just felt like it was something that we could do, especially because me and Rashawn often found ourselves the only two Black people amongst the circles and friends that we have here in Hollywood. And so that's how it started, and that's how we get our content, just by keeping our eyes on what's out there, what's happening in the media, and the things that happen to us, you know?
Mm-hmm. Because you've also, when we first met each other, when we were little tiny baby birds, you lived in New Orleans. Yes. You grew up in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And then you lived in LA for like a hot second. But then for the past like 2 or 3 years, you've been all over. Like you've been traveling the country. You've been in Canada. You've been all over the place. And then now you've been back in LA for how long?
For a year and a half.
Okay, great. After much weeping and gnashing of teeth on behalf of Erin and I. And I guess the question is, in your travels, what have you encountered? Like, have you encountered that this is like, oh, this is an LA problem, or like, oh, this is the South problem, or like, oh, this, like, we didn't have it when we were in Montana because it was just buffaloes there and us. So
it's, the problem is everywhere, and it shows up in different. I'm very much a professional, and when I was going, I would have to have meetings with venues for the company that I work for that will be nameless right now. But I would have to have meetings with settlement meetings with venues about the events that we put on. And I would have other colleagues with me. It's a group of 4 of us to go to these meetings. And in my travels, at least minimum 5 times, a racial remark has happened in a professional setting. And you know, shopping in Nebraska or North Dakota, you know, I walk into a store and a security guard follows me less than 2 feet the whole time. You know, so it's like things like that happen everywhere. It just does. And what really kind of troubled me about the Ahmaud case, not only the first thing that he lost his life in the situation, and it's devastating. But I thought back every time I lost a lot of weight on the road by running. And I would run in different cities all over the country and in neighborhoods that I had and I felt like, wow, I was really ignorant. And I thought of myself as somebody who is wise to that, but it just really was shocking because I was like, I've put myself in that situation so many times. And so, yeah, it's everywhere.
Well, and the situation being that you were exercising. So we'll be explicit in saying that, like, the situation was you were not like out driving around looking to stir shit up. You were like trying to hit your cardio goals. You were like trying to hit those macros, trying to get ripped.
Right. And my existence can threaten someone, just my existence. And so, yeah, it's a very real thing. And like what's happening now in the climate that we are, it's like, it's a huge conversation because we just see it all over the news, one person at the end after the other. And it's even trying to, like, our podcast is even trying to teach people that it's not just a Black person got killed, because often they say, well, white people get killed all the time. Why is that not on the media? It's just that justice usually happens when somebody else gets killed. Often we have to fight and protest just for justice to begin to take place. And that's why Black Lives Matter has come up, because it matters that we died. It just shouldn't be something that we just move on with and no one gets charged for.
I was listening to y'all's your last podcast, and you talked about, you know, people saying like, well, what about Black people kill other Black people? And you were like, no one ever says, what about white people killing other white people? That's just like,
they just never.
And I was like, oh my God, no one has ever said that. Right. And that was very eye-opening to me of like, yeah, you hear like idiots. Sorry if, you know, but you hear idiots be like, well, what about this? And what about that? And that was just like, yeah, what about white people kill white people all the time? And it's never said like that.
Also, in what world does, like, if two people kill each other, regardless of their color or gender, in what world is it like, oh, but that's why police are allowed to kill Black men? Because sometimes, like, yeah, also sometimes people get hit by lightning. That doesn't mean, like, lightning gets one, so police gets another one. There's like 2 for lightning today. Like, you know, people get eaten by hippos every year.
Right.
So, like, well, like, okay, but nobody's like, well, honestly, like, poachers are probably getting hippos, so I don't know. R.I.P. hippos. Like, we're really just destroying the world in any form or fashion we can. But, like, it's just like such an insane correlation. And that I'm glad, as combative, it's crazy that it feels combative, and I guess there are people who are combative about it, but it's like, it's combative just to challenge that thought of like, well, what about Black on Black crime? And you're like, what does that have to do? What does it have to do with anything?
Right. And we're used to the rhythm of those things happening. Like a Black man dies by the hands of police unarmed. Then you get that narrative. Then also Black people always wait for, because we know it's coming, that they'll try to make the victim the reason for his own murder. So they'll find something. Can we find a bad picture of him throwing the middle finger up, or did he smoke at one time in his life? Find something to demonize him to make the murder okay. And it happens almost in every story. And so we're used to that happening to us. Like, and again, it paints us in a certain way. And that doesn't happen for white people. You don't find when they get shot, let's find out how bad he was, you know? So yeah, it's those things that we talk about, because often if you're not white, it's a perspective you won't ever experience. And so I think our goal for the podcast is like us doing it in a funny way, because often these can be very heavy conversations that it's hard for people just to be calm about. And so we hope that me and Rashawn, our banter and the way we know our sound effects and just
the sound effects,
just the way to like lighten it up, because it can be very heavy and we need it for ourselves. Like, you know, it's tough. And so at this point, a lot of Black people feel like it's genocide that is happening to us. So even when it's hard to hear when white people's like, but the protesting and the riots, and It's like if you were getting murdered one by one, and we've been doing peaceful protesting since the beginning, a lot of people are impatient. They're like, how many more years of peaceful protest? And I'm not condoning anything. I'm just saying there's a lot of people out there that it's like seen it and nothing has happened. Nothing, no major changes happened. Black people can get killed and they just move on. The people that kill them sleep well that night, have dinner with their family on their recliners and watch, old episodes of Roseanne. Like it's what happens.
I mean, their patron saint, let me tell you. Do you think there is okay, so in this same week that all of this stuff has been happening with George Floyd, there has also in like if we wrote this script, a studio would be like, hi, all these things happened so coincidentally, it seems like too on the nose. Please rewrite. So right before this, we have this incident in New York City where we have a woman who is confronted, and I use that word so loosely because especially when you see a photo of the man who confronted her, who is like a member of the Audubon Society, Christian Cooper, who is a bird watcher and is in Central Park to bird watch, and asked her to put her dog on a leash because he is trying to bird watch. And additionally, there is signage that asks for people to have this dog leashed. So whole incident freaks out. We could do a whole other podcast and probably some sort of college class on it, like a full 3 credit hours, whatever. So one of the interesting things I was reading was that Christian Cooper afterwards, the man who is at the center of it, obviously he is a Black man, and she threatened him with police violence because she did not like him speaking to her the way, whoever. And one of the things he said was, I don't know that she deserved to have her life destroyed. So she's been fired. Her dog has been taken back. Also, there's a dog involved. She nearly strangles the dog. And I thought that was so interesting because as we're in this world where Will Smith is there are not more incidents. We're just filming the incidents. There is this technological component where I'm watching and trying to listen and trying to figure out what the right thing is, where on one hand you're like, we have these videos, let's hold it against them, and then you have people like Christian who's at the center who's like, I don't know that she deserved to have her job taken away, and I don't know that anybody other than Christian has the right to say that. And then you have instances where you're like, well, what does a video side and social media, is it helping or is it hurting? I saw one of my friends post you guys don't understand that for me as a Black man, I'm seeing streams and streams and streams of another Black man murdered on my Facebook page. And that is overwhelming. And you're like, oh my gosh. On one hand, you think, great, show it to everyone, play it 24/7 so they get it. And then you're like, this is also traumatic.
It is. Yeah, that's a very, very great question. And I think it's doing more good than harm. The reason being is because Black people have been painted in the media so bad in these situations, and when it comes to police, often a lot of white people are opening their eyes now based on this case with George Floyd, because it's of course this is murder, arrest 4 cops, but why are they stalling? What's the reason? But now that we have the camera in our own hands, there's so many forms to get your own true stories or what's happening on the ground. Because Fox News paints Black people in the worst way. So we only have 4 major news outlets that people look at, and they all have an agenda, whether it's right or left, they all have an agenda. And often Black people are not a part of it. But now people can really see with their own eyes these instances of how police are treating Black people. And now big media and big companies can't control the narrative. And so I feel like it's helping us, because my mom called me, I talked to her yesterday, and she's like, I've never seen so many white people in these protests. She's like, she was born in 58, so it's for her, and that made me hopeful, because it's for her to see that and feel encouraged by it, and compared to everything she's seen growing up, it's the first time that we see so many people of different races and nationalities come, you know, and stand. And so that is hopeful. But I definitely believe it's because we have the power of media in our own hands that they can't control, which is YouTube, Instagram. We have our own way of seeing what's happening, and they can't spin the narrative anymore. You know, so it's really hard for them to like respond to flip the George story a certain way, because it's like we all see it.
Yeah.
You know?
What there was white people looting. That was my I'll say favorite thing to see, but it was like one of those things that you don't like they're not going to put on the news. And that was like one of my friends on Facebook was like he just had post after post of like, you're just like, I'm sorry, I'm looking at a white person with the like rock in a sock and they're swinging it against the like, and I was just like,
right,
thank you. You know, like as not that I want anyone to have to do any of this.
Right, exactly.
It was just eye-opening, and also like something that the media can't control, I guess. It was that was cool.
Yeah.
Not cool, but you know what I mean? It was just
no, but it helps because it's like I just watched Fox News with what's his name? Tucker Carlson, whatever his name, Tucker.
Tucker Carlson, yes.
Yeah, and he basically took a video, you know, and I think in Minneapolis, of two individuals, in Target trying to rob Target while all this is going on. And he's like, is this really protest? Blah, blah, blah. Like going off and just showing this video of two individuals instead of the protests that are happening. And he just went on and saying, you know, use clips from other Black leaders and saying, we need to fortify, we need to do these protests to let them know. And it's like, oh, you need to steal these registers? Is that? And so he's painting a narrative to everybody who's right wing about what's happening that is not the full story. You know, looters are looters, protesters are protesters. And so it's like, yeah, there's opportunists that's going to take advantage of any situation, but it has nothing to do with the cause, but they don't want us to talk about the cause. You know?
So the Trevor Noah thing, he talked, it was like an 18-minute Instagram TV video, but he talked about like just like there's like a society standard, and it's like been like when the police break that and we see it over and over and over, then why would anyone not loot Target? You know, like they have great prices. Sorry, I'm sorry. Like, why would anyone? Why would you?
Why would you care?
Why would you care?
Yeah.
And that was really, to me, I was like, that's such a. He says it way better than I just did. I would encourage anyone that hasn't seen it to go look at it. But it was such like another thing where you're just like, yeah, why follow any rules right now?
Right.
Well, and it's also somebody in the chat just mentioned about like being scared to even see what Fox is talking about, and you're like, oh man, there are large there's large sections of the country where that's like, we have grown up thinking like, why would the news lie if it's on the news? Like, or if the president says it, why would it be a lie? How could the president tell us a thing that's not true?
Right.
And so it is such a weird world where, like, on one hand, if I never hear the word fake news again, I could sleep happily for the rest of my life. And then on the other hand, you're like, oh, people believe that when the news tells you something, it has to be real. And then you go, oh, so of course they would think this thing. If the president and freaking Tucker Carlson, who looks like he freaking just graduated from, you know, like a Southern campus Christian university, like walked right out of his fraternity house and started working for Fox News. Like, if he said it, like, how could he be allowed to say something that wasn't true? And you're like, oh, this is now what we're dealing with. It's like, it's one thing for Tucker Carlson to say it. It's another thing for people to digest it and have nothing to challenge that media bias. Why would it be a lie and be allowed to be on television?
Right.
And we're learning that that's not and it's not just like you said, it's not just Fox News. It's like
Right.
every channel has
Everyone.
sponsors. Like,
Yes.
so I mean, but it is a lot of work, especially now because there are so many voices. On one hand, it's like so great because everyone has access to give their opinion, and then on the other hand, some of y'all don't need to have an opinion.
Right.
And so it does. So as far as like who do you find to be reliable sources? Like when you're checking something out, and I'll open this up to both of you and also anybody who's in the chat. When you're like, this is crazy, but I am terrified of earthquakes. And so when our sliding glass door also really sounds and feels a little bit like an earthquake because it's really long. So if us or our neighbor opens our door, it feels like an earthquake. And I can't believe it was an earthquake until I go see somebody making jokes about it on Twitter. So who are your earthquake checks as far as like you see something happening, you want to hear what this person, like, did this person have a comment on it?
You know what? I'm kind of like an oddball, and I like to look at both sides. I like to, even though Fox News hurts my like very being, because it just mostly every time it just paints someone that looks like me in such a bad situation. Like it's not good. But it's good to know what I like to kind of hear what everybody's talking about. And so I don't really watch news stations. I don't have cable. I look at YouTube. And like I get all the opposing news channels and watch what they're saying about every topic. It's funny, like some topics don't even show up on certain, like they're picking news because like if they don't have the DJ spinning it and they're like, I can't spin that record. That one's hard. It won't even show up.
Too hot.
Yeah, like
23 summer salads that you can make with your kids. And you're like, lady, Minneapolis is burning.
It's on fire.
Yeah,
but look at my new kitchen.
Yeah, look at this creepy way you can cut an avocado. Scare your neighbors.
And so that's exactly. So I try to, kind of have a versatile strategy on like how I get my news. So I don't depend on a certain source, but I do love Trevor Noah. I do love his commentary when he does talk about things. I love Amanda Seales, even though a lot of people don't, ride with her. I think she's funny and she's very educated and is up on what's going on as well. But yeah, I don't commit to anybody because it's like all of us, we need to be skeptical of everything we hear, even if it leans toward your beliefs in some way. We all have bias, and so it would be good for us to just to analyze everything.
I think something that has been exciting to see is everyone sharing. Like just Instagram, it can feel so, or Twitter, it can feel so like screaming into a void or something. But I feel like everyone is like trying to share actual tangible steps right now, and that's been nice to just like investigate and like follow a trail down, like follow it all the way to like where it begins. Like if someone posts a picture and they give credit to it, it's like go look at that one and then see what they're talking about and then follow to the next person. Like that has been that's been interesting to me, is just like going down other people's Instagram story rabbit holes and then just like sharing it and just being like, I know we are kind of in an LA bubble here, but I forget that we have people all over the country from when we did like camp. Like our campers still follow us, it's like people from New Mexico, Wyoming, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, like people all over. We lived in Nashville. It's like everyone, like, so if I post something that 15 comedians already posted, I feel maybe like I'm annoying, but I might be the only person in Cookeville County, Tennessee might see like, oh, I never thought of that. So that has been like to just take a little pressure off of like, I don't know what to post. What do you post? It's like, just share it. Who cares? And just like keep keep it moving. It's a 24-hour cycle. Let's do it. Like we're
Yeah.
our own little news channels. Like let's
Right.
lean the way we want to lean, you know? And
that's honestly what's most peculiar about this particular time is that now everybody's like, now that a lot of people of other nationalities and ethnicities have opened their eyes, like, this is going on. This actually is a problem. Like, for the first time, light bulb, now we're mad and angry. Then it's really interesting to see the silent people, the people who haven't said a thing. And you're like, you're putting a picture up of the smoothie you made this morning while all this is happening? Interesting. And a lot of people are having conversations with me. It's like calling me up, like checking in, which is a beautiful thing, but also saying, I had a hard conversation with my mom and I did not know she had the views she has. You know, like people are having some tough conversations right now, and their eyes are open to people that they thought were decent human beings, and then they're seeing something different. And it's an interesting time, you know?
Yeah. I will also say there are times for, if, you know, I definitely understand that feeling of like shouting into an echo chamber and like what does matter. But there have been times where it's like, I grew up in Miami, and then I grew up in a small town in North Florida, which is basically South Georgia. I talk about this a lot. My parents had a Civil War themed wedding. My dad is not from this country. So just to like paint that picture. But you know what? Sometimes it has been nice. Like Erin and I lived in Nashville. We have, all three of us have been all over the country. And it is nice because it also has been a good challenge for like my brain, in the sense that like there are places that feel like, oh, I'm going to open up my feed and it's just going to be like a nightmare of opinions. And one of the encouraging things have been to see people who are right wherever they are, in places where you wouldn't expect, who are like, this is unacceptable, who are also sharing those same things. Here, like you said, Erin, it can feel like, oh, well, okay, so one of 39 comedians shared this thing about bailout fund. But when you're like, oh, my friend from my hometown that we used to go to Civil War reenactments, it's like, it's not, it is a good reminder, because I think there sometimes is this narrative that like wants to minimize this discussion because it sounds like maybe it's just your problem and it's not that big of a deal, which is a thing I've heard before. But when you start to go, oh, you know what? Maybe they're not alone. And I think sometimes that's great for protesters. That's great for people who do feel alone, who won't go home for family cycles like Thanksgiving or Christmas, to like know that there are people who not only like hear you, but like understand you. So maybe today, if you're like, I don't know, does this matter? It's like, well, like Erin said, it's 24 hours. As long as, if you're not hurting somebody, there've been some things where I have had to do a sensitivity check. But like the pointlessness of it, I'll say, speaking to the pointlessness of it, I think there's a world where like I've been very encouraged sometimes by people that I was like, oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Absolutely. I've had the pleasure of reading one or two posts that have been like, I used to explain all these instances away and think, well, it's because of what happened before. There's no way cops would do that. There's no way our government is like that. And they're like, but now I've seen too much and I'm sorry. And that was very impactful, because it's just like, for people to say they're wrong is so hard a lot of times, especially in our soapbox era of media and social media, and to admit you're wrong is hard. And I appreciate that. So that's encouraging. So it is like a crazy time, a polarizing time. But technology is also doing a lot of good, you know? So I've been encouraged, but also stressed out. But it's good, and there's progress happening, and I have no choice but to be hopeful, or I'll go crazy. You know,
I'll go crazy on your behalf.
I am crazy, so it happened. Cuckoo.
Oh, I will tell you, I if you follow me for longer than 13 seconds on social media, you know that I'm pretty obsessed with moms. I think moms are pretty I just love talking about moms. One of my favorite TED Talks. I'm not a mom, but I just am regularly amazed. And speaking of what you said, Dustin, like I have just been so impressed by watching moms, friends that I'm friends with, who have children who are white, who are children who are black, who have children who are, any sort of combination of ethnicities. And like, I can barely talk about this with myself / a parent / there's those family members that you're like, dear God. I could not imagine having to explain this to a child.
Yeah.
And like moms out here in the streets, and also there are some dads, so no shade to dads. But like moms are out here being like, let's get the report ready. And like, that has been so impressive to see moms sharing tools for talking with kids. Again, I really can't just say just moms, because also, I mean, freaking Matthew Cherry, like what hasn't Matthew Cherry done, who has been like a pro athlete, then like writes this beautiful book for him, and a children's book for his daughter, and then turns into a short film, then wins a freaking Oscar.
Right.
So it's like moms and dads have a huge burden, and they're freaking coming through.
Yes.
I've been so impressed by parents talking about the importance of teaching kids early, of like having a conversation instead of not having a conversation at all.
Right.
I want to do shout out to mom and dads.
Mom and dads. I had one, a mom, she actually works with me, and she's my human resource president at our company. And she, she's white. She has a white child who likes Dr. McStuffins. It's
Doc McStuffins.
Yeah.
It's like a Disney character, and she's black little girl who like fixes toys, and she wanted to be that for her birthday. Like it's like, I want to be Dr. McStuffins, and she's like, I want to give her the outfit, but is that like? I was like, I don't think. I was like, you're not trying to do blackface, all right? Oh no. And I'm like, but like I appreciate her asking, but I also told her like that's great, and if I doubt anybody would tell you anything, if they do, just say that I saw my daughter appreciate a character of color, and I wanted to encourage that, and I was encouraged that she wanted that to happen for her daughter, so yeah, it's
Man, I was Steve Urkel for Halloween when I was a kid, and I tried to find something to make my skin brown, but I failed. I couldn't find anything. Thank God.
That's good. That could ruin your whole podcast career.
It could ruin everything. It should ruin everything. But
Outpost 13 just puts black her out.
My face.
Yeah.
Okay, you're done, lady.
Yeah.
But I loved Steve Urkel, and I just walked around all day. Just, did I do that? And just going hard. I had my glasses, my striped shirt,
Also, that's all you need. That's all you need to be Steve Urkel. Also, I'm going to do an unprofessional thing and get a computer charger. Oh, yeah. Paul asked if you did that last year. Was that last year that you did?
No, okay. No. I was like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, somewhere in there. So like multiple decades ago. Okay.
Right. You're safe. And you always were, because you didn't do that.
That's right. Okay, thank God. God. Yeah. So Doc McStuffins.
Doc McStuffins. Yes. And speaking of, like, I also want to shout out Black mothers and fathers, because I know my mom spent a lot of time telling us that we were beautiful and that we were like great, and like, because kids don't see themselves represented, and so when they see dolls, Barbies, magazines, soldiers, all those things, it's white. Especially in the 90s, like everything was white. And so like my mom and other moms, my cousins who has daughter, like telling them they're beautiful and pretty, because this might be the only spot where you will hear it or see it. And so shout out to them too, because it's like, you have to have that strength put into you young, because there's not a lot of reinforcement. We've come a long way now, but like, but even still, it's not where it should be for all cultures. Like, Indian. Like I was watching Insecure as one of my favorite shows on HBO, and they have one of the characters has an Asian boyfriend. They call him Asian Bay, and like it's like wow, we never really see an Asian guy in a like sexy like position. It's like when do you ever see that? Like
in Lost, on the show Lost. Okay. Just saying, on the show Lost, ahead of its time.
It's like ABC wasn't expecting, and then they were like, "Uh-oh, you guys." You
But
know, we were like, "Yes, yes."
English though.
Keep it coming, mama likey.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's the only times. I think those are the only two times that people could like really pick out.
No, I
Otherwise-
remember Rachel Bloom talking about Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, her picking to have an Asian American man be her romantic lead. And then she was like, I want to give, like, you don't see that often, so I want to give that
right
away. Like I like that was a specific choice. And I you know, gosh, man, let's get that popping. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then like Lovebirds were really cool too because we had like it's just like we need that. We are a country full of different people, and we need representation everywhere. And so I mean, that's all we saying. That's all.
That's it.
You know.
Yeah. That's all we saying.
And anyway, that's how you fix systemic racism.
Boom.
Okay? Get some of those male leads in here that we're looking for.
You need it.
Yeah.
Those female leads with a different, like, just a new hot guy. That way the women get our place in the sun, and then those hotties get their place in the sun.
Yeah. Everybody, we want everybody to get to be in the sun is what we're saying.
Yes.
Unless you have sensitive skin like Erin. And like
I'll stay in the shade.
Still wear sunscreen and a lot of coverage.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh wait, Dustin, that reminded me of real friend moments.
Yeah.
Real friend moments on your podcast. So you were just talking about Insecure and friend for a long. What was it? Friend for not. It wasn't friend for a long time.
Reason, season, and lifetime.
Yeah. So those are like the 3 stages of friendship, or 3
categories.
Types. Yeah, and I love the thought, because I've always been like, why do some people stick and some people are like, that was really fun, but I'm not talking to you anymore.
Right.
Not for a bad reason, just like, I guess we don't talk. We're not at the same gym anymore, so now we don't get coffee also. So that was, our podcast is friendship, technology, and communication, and the 3 of us have been friends
for life.
For a lifetime. And that's crazy, because there was 10 people on our team.
We whittled it down.
We whittled it down to us, with an occasional shout out to Sarah Cowart. I do text with her sometimes, and that's very fun.
Yes.
But isn't that crazy? We are friends for a lifetime. What makes a friend in each of those categories?
Oh, Erin, that's such a good question.
Thank you. I had to do one. Otherwise, I'm just...
That's a good question. So, okay, let's start with reason. Okay. Reason is like a mutually beneficial situation where you got to become friends. For instance, these people at the protest right now, you got water, here's your water. We're standing next to each other. We're going to look out for each other because we're in the moment. We're friends. But will they call each other later, and invite somebody to their wedding? I don't probably not. Also for reason, season is like, maybe I know I remember like growing up with some people or the kids around the block, and like you think, oh, we're gonna be friends forever, but like your childhood is a season. You go to high school, and like obviously those people mean something to you, but the day-to-day friendship doesn't really apply, or you don't call them for everything that happens. And then you have the lifetime friends, which you two have become. And it's weird how it happens. It's almost like you don't try. is. Like, I remember when I met you guys, in my mind, it's like, I never keep in touch with people I meet that don't live.
I said the same thing.
And I said, you guys will never leave my side. I love you both.
Every camp I've been to, I'm like, yeah, I tell people right away, like, I love you. You were so cool. And like, we had such a connection, but I probably will never talk to you again. I just was honest.
I came to visit both of y'all.
That's how you got us. Because I was like,
crazy.
But also, we called each other and texted each other. Like, it didn't stop.
Yeah.
So
it ended up working out.
Yeah, and we moved across the country.
But why do you think that is? Is it just like I remember feeling like if I could laugh with someone and cry with someone and like just like kind of shoot the shit with someone, then I could have like there are some people that I could laugh with and just shoot the shit with, but I'd never cry with them. So it was like I couldn't lifer with them, you know?
Well, the answer is simple. Ooh. It's that we're soulmates. And that's what it is. It's like you can't explain it. It's just something that God gives you when you're making this journey with life.
That's true, though. That's real.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, I think it's for the people that I have kept, it's always been people who are growing in the same direction, the same rate. I remember this one friend I had, one of the first few times hanging out with them, they're like, if I could retire now, I would. And in my belly, I was like, this is not going to last that long. And it didn't because I'm too crazy
they
for
were
that.
Like 59 turning 60 or because
No, because they were like 20 turning 60.
Okay.
And so I was like, I had too much to do. And so, like, I guess that person found their other fellow 60-year-olds, and that's where they are. Yeah. And we just found the people who, you know, it's like you just run and you look around and the people to the right and the left that are there, you keep. And you guys have been on that same track, and it has encouraged me to sprint when I was ready to take a break and vice versa. And so, yeah, I think I have the people that I love and trust and I owe a lot of my success to are people who have also in turn like continued to push themselves in the way that I expect of myself. So, you know, shout out if you want to be 20 going on 60, but you're going to be maybe a reason, barely a season. You know what I'm saying? To me.
That's almost a song, Melissa.
Yeah, okay. Arlo, definitely cut that out, bleep it out. Feel free to put whatever sort of like you need over it. We're going to need that for later. Good to know. Yeah, our music career was dying. Erin, we probably have about 8 minutes left. So let's just tell ourselves we have about 5 minutes left. Audience, if you've never seen this before, because I want Dustin, actually, that was kind of a good question. If you got a quick question, we can ask Dustin, because we normally end the podcast by asking the last question, but I also want to give Dustin the opportunity to talk about stuff that he's working on, where you can find him on the internet, tell you a little bit about Erin and Melissa and what we're going to be doing for Outpost 13, because we will be back with you on this channel with more guests. I don't know that they'll all be as handsome as Dustin, but you can show up every week and find out. Maybe don't tell the active guest, like, don't be like, whoa, uglier. But you could text us and tell us your thoughts. So I want to be able to go through all that stuff. You know what? I will ask as a closing thing, and I will also ask to everybody, what is something hopeful you've seen in light of everything that's going on? What have you seen, either friendship, communication, or technology wise, that has like given you peace in your heart, if even for a moment? Maybe some things you can recommend. Maybe you donated to something. Maybe you watched something. Maybe you know, a video you saw.
I'm really just excited about the way everybody's coming together right now, even though it seems like the world is at war. I think the majority of people are in it together. That makes me feel peace. It makes me feel good. And those who want more information about what systemic situations or systems that are in place in America that make it hard for Black people to thrive and live, You can watch 13th on Netflix. I love that documentary and how it was done. And so that's an easy watch. And it'll open your eyes to how things have been running in this country that you won't notice if you are not Black, because it does not happen to you. And then also the 1619 Project by New York Times Magazine. It came out and really just showed, since the enslaved got here in 1619, how slavery has impacted everything in America, every single thing. So it's done well and it's interactive. You can actually just download the magazine online and read the whole thing and print it out if you want to. Also, it has a podcast. So if you're like me and you rather just be immersed and like drive in traffic and listen to something really informative, that might be your way to go.
I will say that I have been both impressed by people's ability to learn. There definitely been conversations that I thought I was going to see online where I was expecting it to just like have that but in the middle, you know, where somebody's like, this is what I think, but, and you're like, that's where I murder you through the internet. But I have been so impressed by people who have been able to digest the information they've seen, learn and grow and be able to articulate, you know, especially if it's not been their experience, to like acknowledge that they can hear somebody else's perspective. And that has been very encouraging. I will also say, if you have Hulu, one of my favorite humans on the whole entire earth, and my favorite chef is an LA chef. His name is Roy Choi. He is freaking the most handsome, wonderful angel of a man I've ever met. Do any form of Googling you want to on him. He's so great. He has a new series called Breaking Bread. And 6 episodes. It's so good. The last episode is about Watts. Yes, the creator of Kogi trucks. He talks about how food and racism and just like poverty and all these, like you're saying, Dustin, all these systemic things that are built into culture and community, how it trickles down and how it affects our waste, how it affects our privilege, how it affects how our, you know, like all these things. He's freaking amazing. It's so good. We watched the last episode right before this took off. This show started, and it was so timely. So that's Breaking Bread on Hulu. Magroni?
Mine is that I want to share is my friend. I used to know her very well, but now I just know her on Instagram. But her name is Kylia McIlvain, and she wrote a book called A Kid's Book About Depression, and she posted the other day. It's this series called A Kid's Book About, and they have like money, creativity, but there's one about racism, and so it's on Instagram. It's just A Kid's Book About, and it's just like, I think for people wondering how to talk about stuff, not that you just give your kids a book, which is what my parents did about sex, and here we are. But it's at least a start of a conversation. And so I don't know. I think talking to kids about all of those things is probably challenging, but especially right now, it's a good like tangible way to start if you don't know how to talk to your family about it.
That's cool.
Dustin, How do people find you online?
You can find me on Instagram at the Dust in Your Eye, and also Twitter at the same handle. You can also find my photography, my writing, some playlists at thedustinyoureye.com. My 2 Black friends, you can hear more from me and my co-host Rashawn Pates on YouTube. We have a YouTube show as well as the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcast, and that's where you can find me.
I love that. We got to get out of here, but we are Erin and Melissa. We're at erinandmelissa.com. Our podcast is there for group text with Erin and Melissa. We will be back here on Tuesdays in the evening. Our other podcast is called Oh Dear God. It's a short series about people who have left the Evangelical American Church. But on that note, I think we just say goodnight, America.
We'll see you never, babies.
Who do you talk to? It's group
Text with Erin and Melissa.